When I was a new teacher, I looked very young for my age. So young that at my first parent-teacher conferences, parents kept coming into my classroom asking where the teacher was. And I'm like, oh, that's exactly what a new teacher wants to hear. I looked like Ralph Macchio the Karate Kid, except not the Cobra Kai version, but the 16-year-old one. I had a professor in college who told me that because I looked so young, my students would be quick to take advantage of me. So it was very important that I made sure students knew from day one that I was not to be trifled with. If I gave an inch, students would take a mile. You need to make sure kids know that you mean business. And he gave me a piece of wisdom you may have heard in teacher college as well. And I know thousands of other teachers have heard this same thing. The professor said to me, "You should never smile before Christmas. You can smile later in the year, but not right off the bat." And so I started my teaching career all serious and tough. The problem was, it wasn't really authentic. I was just doing what I was told, but this isn't how I was actually feeling. I didn't get into teaching to be tough. I got into it for other reasons. And so when I was acting like this, a lot of students did not respond to it well. I mean, some kids took me seriously. Some. But others saw right through the facade, and some didn't respond to that type of teaching. Some students needed more warmth and more connection. It wasn't long before the whole "don't smile before Christmas" thing fell apart. I mean, I get why the professor told me that. And we'll get to that later on in the cohort, and the need for setting boundaries. But that advice just didn't work for me, and it didn't work for my students. Sometimes the old way of doing things doesn't work anymore. Times change, students change, school needs to change. I had to pivot. I had to adapt my teaching style. And this was my first big adaptation as an educator, but it was far from my last. Being a teacher means always being willing to adapt when necessary, to embrace new ideas and figure out what changes need to be made to effectively connect with and engage our students. But I've also learned over and over in my career that good teaching means leaning on strong wisdom. It involves figuring out what those tried and true methods that still work and figure out how can I employ them in my constantly changing classroom. It doesn't mean throwing the baby out with the bathwater. It means taking some of the old and taking some of the new and figuring out how do I put it into play with my students and in my school. This requires a mindset. We call it the new teacher mindset. It's the recognition that every day in the classroom is an opportunity to be new again. You can always learn new ideas. You can give yourself grace when something fails, and you can take another new crack at it. You can reclaim that passion that got you into teaching in the first place. This doesn't mean everything new is good and everything old is bad. It means you have a mindset for figuring out what is best for students and what is best for you as a teacher. That's what being a part of this cohort is all about. John and I will be sending you an instructional video every single month with ideas and strategies for thriving in the classroom. We've taken the best stuff that's worked in our own classrooms, as well as wisdom and practices that we've learned from literally thousands of other educators that we've worked with in our careers, and we've condensed it into lessons that cover foundational topics in teaching. That's the journey this year. As you will see in the monthly videos, John and I will do some talking and storytelling and explaining, but we're also creating spaces for you to think and work and create. And we really want to encourage you to use those opportunities. Being in this cohort is not just about the instructional videos. It's about the thinking and the dreaming you do alongside them. And so we hope you engage with that. And we are so excited that you are a part of this cohort and that we get to be a part of this journey with you. So let's get started.